everyone, welcome back to Debating for America's Youth. Today we have an awesome guest interview. Today I'm going to interview Jaylon Muchison, who is the 2020 NSDA National Student of the Year winner, and he's actually competing in NSDA Nationals right now online, but he was gracious enough to stop by for an interview. Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
So my first question is, you're Student of the Year for NSDA, speech and debate. How did you get started in speech and debate? How did you hear about it, and what made you want to stick with doing speech and debate?
Well, it honestly all started whenever I was in 7th grade. I knew a lot of people who had done speech and debate for my high school, Bevel West, and at that time I had never done anything with acting or speaking or at all. Like, I didn't even know that I had that ability, besides, the in-classroom experience where you would have to make one. But I just remember I shadowed for the upperclassman at the time, and she kept talking about speech and debate, but I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is this? So instead of going straight home after I shadowed her during school, I sat in on one of the meetings, and that kind of opened me to doing speech and debate, because that was the moment that I also got to meet my future coach. And it was just such a great experience being in that room and like just hearing. And I remember it was so funny to me, because now, being someone who's been in speech and debate for 4 years, like you recognize all the the codes and the names like HI, DI, all that. But like I guess you just kind of forget over time about that first experience, and then you just hear everyone saying all these different names and phrases, and you're like, what are they talking about? But so from there, she just kind of led me in there. It was just kind of like something that I was there for. But I really wouldn't say that I got into speech and debate until about the second half of my freshman year. That was whenever we kind of got towards like the postseason, where things kind of getting a little more intense and serious with state and nationals. And I remember I was the only freshman to go to the national tournament. I believe that year was in Alabama. And I remember just being completely just dazzled. Like the whole experience, being in a different place outside of Illinois, 2, being able to see all the talent that our nation has. And it just really amazed me, and it made me want to get a drive. And I always say that it was that moment that I really joined speech and debate, because that was the moment that I started having a drive for it, and that I really wanted to give a lot to this organization, because it just meant I just knew that it could change lives. It could, and that really inspired me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was listening to the speech you gave on the live stream, and you talked about like giving back to the speech and debate community and helping your friend who was killed, and talking about how you use bracelets. That's a really awesome and powerful story. My question is, for other people who are in the speech and debate community and want to make a positive difference in other people's lives, do you have any recommendations for how they can help other people as well?
Yes, absolutely. The number one thing that I would say for anyone to do when they're trying to make an impact in their community is to talk. Like, I know that sounds very cliche, because, that's just kind of what we do, but that's exactly why we should. I think it's very interesting, because being a part of the National Speech and Debate Association literally gives us the tools to have a conversation, to form debates, to talk to people that feel like they can't talk for themselves, they can't speak up for themselves. We have that tool. We are nourishing that ability to just talk to people. And I think that is so interesting, and that is our ability. And to us, it seems like it's something like, we do it all the time. But for other people, when they come and see us, when they come to, and, especially like, for instance, last year in Texas, being in the mall where there's a whole bunch of people who don't do speech or have never seen that, I had many people come up to me and ask, what you're here for, and like, say speech and debate, and they would just be amazed at how many kids are working at something, that can be important. So definitely having conversations with others in your community. If you feel like there's a problem that no one's really talking about, be that person who talks about it, because 9 times out of 10, you're not the only person who feels that way. And it's, I just think it's very important for us to use the abilities that we're learning from speech and debate so that we can make the world that we're living in a better place.
I completely agree. And are you still selling those bracelets?
The family has stopped for a while, but I'm pretty sure if people wanted more, they could definitely get more. The website that I was able to create the bracelets on is definitely very generous as far as like, being able to produce some more rubber bands. But yes, definitely you could if you wanted to. Yeah, just let me know and I'll be able to get those for you.
I was just thinking that I could put a link in the description for people who wanted to help support the cause. And obviously you can check down below, and we can talk more about this after the interview. Another thing, go ahead.
And sorry, it's real quick. Since that ended, I did start up a new fundraiser for the Equal Justice Initiative. It's Black Lives Matter shirts with the names of the people who were lost to police brutality. That is also another fundraiser. That's a more relevant one that I can send you also to put in the link.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll put that down in the description. If you guys want to help support this cause, an awesome cause, just go down below. You can help support this fundraiser. Another thing I wanted to mention is not only are you able to give back to the speech and debate community, you've also had massive success in speech and debate. For the 2019 national tournament, you're able to place 4th in humorous interpretation. What is your practice like? How do you practice speech and debate? Do you give your speech over and over? Do you like to give it in front of other people? And how do you find your pieces?
So that's kind of a tough question for me because I've had 5 different practice styles in the past 4 years. Definitely, it started off as kind of very drill sergeant-ish. My sophomore year, I really had a struggle finding people to work with. That was the year I did duo because a lot of people didn't really match my work ethic. I put a lot into the speeches that I do, into the and anything that I present. I try to put as much as I can into it so I know I've given my best. And definitely very rigorous. But as I went into my junior year, I found that I was kind of running myself down. And I think that's one thing that we kind of forget is that we also need to rest. And there's for our events, for speech and debate, what's really interesting about us is that we need to practice, but we can't practice too much. What I mean by that is especially for those of you who do speaking events, is that after you say a speech for a while, and, you've been used to saying it, you can lose that freshness, that pop to it that makes it so good. And that's what I had to learn my junior year. So I kind of started dialing back on how much I practice. But right now what I do is I learned how to prioritize certain parts of my speech or my acting or whatever debate that you're doing. I prioritize certain parts of it for each day. I'll spend maybe 2-3 hours on it and just only that part. And then by let's say in a week I might just work on the first part on Monday, second part Tuesday, third part Wednesday, so on and so forth. And then on Friday I'll put it all together. And I'll practice it running down and make sure it's on time and all that. Yeah, so that's basically generally how my practice goes. And then as far as finding pieces, usually when it comes for any of my stuff that I write, as far as speeches, I really I might find it while I'm scrolling through social media, and it's not generally the idea of speech that I have, but it'll just be a thought that comes up. And I'll just scroll through Instagram and I'll see something about that there's post, it's called post traffic. I'm sorry. It's basically something, just anything I might see on Instagram, and it might pique my interest, and I look into it more. I'm oh, that could be a good speech. But as far as my acting event stuff, I might I spend a lot of time reading books. I spend an immense, especially this year, I probably read, just for finding a script, I probably read over 25 different books just for HI, trying to find the right script. And I didn't know that books could be as useful as they were until last year, and they definitely were. I'm very happy with the piece that I'm doing this year. Um, but yeah, definitely a lot of reading, a lot of scrolling through like social media, seeing what's like relevant, prevalent, all of that. Yeah, that's basically what I do as far as practice and material wise.
Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of, so you've been doing this for 4 years, as you stated, and you've obviously learned a lot during this time. Is there anything, like a piece of advice that you wish you knew when you started off speech and debate that you know now, or something that like someone who's a novice who's getting started in speech and debate, who's watching this video right now, would would be benefited to know? Do you have any like advice in that category?
Yes. One and the most important thing to me when you do anything for speech and debate is just making sure that you connect with your piece. A lot of the times, we might come across a piece and we'll do it because, it's funny, or because it sounds dramatic, or because it's kind of this, it's kind of that. You feel like, I guess you can call it like playing the game and trying to find what you think they want to see. And that's even something that I've had to struggle with my senior year, is trying to, wean away from trying to be what you think the National Speech and Debate Association wants to see, or what speech and debate wants to see, and just truly finding yourself in something that you love to do, in the piece that you love to do. Obviously, there are certain criteria, obviously, that you, as a part of that event that you're doing, you have to follow. But as far as like what script you choose, what piece you decide to talk about, what you're arguing or debating, like, I feel like you should always try to find some type of tie to it. It automatically, I feel like once you find yourself bonded with a piece, you automatically make it 10 times better than any other piece. Even if you work at it, you're always going to have that spark. And I think that's where the motivation comes to do it. If you know that your piece has something that is important to you, that is an important message that anyone needs to hear about, that you think everyone needs to hear about, I think that is the most important thing, and that will definitely help you stand out as far as like a competitor. Because like I said, a lot of people struggle with trying to find or do something that they think is good versus something that they want to do. And sometimes you got to take that risk. That's definitely a risk I've been taking all my 4 years. It's a risk I take every year, and this year is no different. So I think that it's very important. As long as you feel like you are doing something that is meaningful to you, you are doing something that makes you proud in the end. That is most important. That is very important in anything that you do for the National Speech and Debate Association, speech and debate itself, or anything in life, honestly.
I completely agree with you. And when it comes to a topic like speech events, you can choose a speech that you're passionate about. But even in debate events, you can, even if it's a topic you're not like super passionate about, make contentions that relate to something that you care about, a community that you feel like deeply about. That's something that I've experienced because I'm more on the debate side, is I choose contentions for communities that I feel like my heart goes out to, or like people who can't speak for themselves. I like to include them in my debates. It could really be something that, even if it's something like market rate housing, which most people don't care about, if you talk about the low-income communities that can't, fight for themselves in the debate, it kind of brings a level of like care to an event, even if it's something that you don't really care that much about.
Yes.
Totally. And so, let's see. Well, okay, so now that you've become Student of the Year and you've gone through debate for 4 years, this is kind of something I ask every person who I interview. Is there a message you have for the speech and debate community? Some people take this in the platform of like something that they would like to see changed in the speech and debate community. Other people talk about something that they would like to thank the speech and debate community for, because hopefully a lot of people are going to watch this interview and be helped by it. And so this is kind of your opportunity to kind of, I don't know, say one last thing to the community, if you would like.
Yes. Definitely, before I even knew that I was going to win, I kind of found myself in the bathroom, just kind of like lost in thought. And I was just thinking, if I were, and obviously I did, but if I were to be the National Student of the Year, not only would it be something that I feel like I've accomplished, but I feel that everyone who I've met, the whole journey, everyone that I've encountered, my coaches, my teammates, people I've met, other competitors, it's all of us, because I wouldn't even have gotten to this point if it hadn't been for all those experiences, for all the setbacks, for all of the times where I almost quit speech and debate. Like, if it hadn't been for all of those steps that I took to get to this moment, I wouldn't feel as proud as I am now. And I definitely feel like the message that I would like to say is, it doesn't matter whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you have a darker skin tone, a lighter skin tone, whether your sexuality is different than most other people. None of that matters. And that is so important in speech and debate, because you can be yourself. You don't have to stick to a status quo, or you don't have to stick to what you think is what people want to see. Obviously, as long as you keep respect, as long as you stay true to yourself, like, you can get so far in this program, because all it asks you to do is just do your best and to be the best you that you can be. And, especially during a time where it's very heightened, where there's a lot of racial tension, it's very easy to feel like, okay, I don't matter, or I feel like my voice isn't being heard. Well, speech and debate completely negates that. It shows us that your voice will be heard. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, is that yes, we're all about speaking, but honestly, I'd say 75% of the work in the actual speech and debate tournament is listening. Because when you're in that round, you get to speak, but then you're required to listen to everyone else speak. You listen to their message, or you listen to their piece, or you listen to their argument. And that's what's really interesting to me. That's what's really important about this whole community, is that yes, it's teaching us how to speak, but it's also teaching us how to listen. And if we can speak and listen to each other, that can most definitely change the world that we live in. It's a skill that adults struggle with. And I thank the speech and debate community for allowing me as a teenager to understand that concept. And I hope that you or whoever sees this video understands, or gets to a point where they can understand that concept as well.
Wow, that was a really powerful message. I actually completely agree with what you're saying. And even like last year at NATS, I'm not sure if you saw the POI piece performed by Ella Schnake. She talked about like an issue that I didn't really understand how like big it actually was, or problematic in the speech and debate community, until I heard her POI piece about it and stuff like that. Like, I go into speech and debate with a specific thing I want to say, but then I come out with so many other stories and I guess life stories and pieces, and I really enjoy like learning all of that, as well as being able to share my own voice. So I think I would completely agree with what you're saying about speech and debate in that aspect.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview. Once again, if you want to support the fundraiser, the link will be down below. You can help support that. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.